Hi, my name is Lorena, and an issue that I faced while being in NASA roads was creating an efficient model of Europa. A few of my peers and I tried many websites such as Vectory, Blender, and Tinkercad to create this model, but we figured out that they didn't have the tools that we needed to create it. Now, what we did was that we created the model out of clay because it was much easier, we had the right colors, and we were able to make the shape of Europa with this material. So that's how we solved our problem.
One challenge we faced during NASA roads on icy worlds was deciding the sample size. We had to make sure the measurements were perfect and one wasn't too big or one wasn't too small. To overcome this challenge, we decided to make all the samples the same size. And first we made one sample to test with the rover to make sure the rover would be able to pick it up. And then we made more.
So throughout the mission, I had many complications or problems, but I think the most problematic or evident was the coding. I had a lot of trouble with that, causing me at the end to have to use the remote to drive the robot, unfortunately. But I think that what happened with the coding was that I was mainly being very clumsy, so I had to keep on restarting because I kept on accidentally deleting it. And there was also the fact that whenever I thought I had the code right, the robot would just move ever so slightly to the left or to the right, making the code not work anymore. So in the end, I think that's what caused me to have my biggest problem and thing that I have to solve in a way. Something else that happened actually while I was going through the mission was when I was driving it, because I had to drive it instead of coding it. There were some samples that got knocked over, unfortunately. So I had no idea how to put those back. I could have always just had it be restarted, but I chose not to do that. And then I figured out that I could always just push it towards the thing instead of actually carrying it, which in the end actually helped us work on that. Then I think the final complication or problem that we had to solve was the whole color sensor. Our team did not have a color sensor because we were unaware that we needed one until the very end when we went through all the stuff before we had to do the mission. And by that time, we did not have enough time to actually buy one. So we ended up just having to do 6 samples, have to pick up 6 samples instead of 5, which while I was driving, I actually dropped one of them, so we only ended up doing 5 samples. But I think that those are really the main 3, or the top 3 mingle moments that we had throughout the mission. So yeah.
There were many challenges that we had to overcome. One thing that was very challenging was our time management. We all made the commitment to come work on this project on certain days. However, some people had clubs or activities inside and outside of school that did not allow them to. In order to overcome this, we decided that most people would meet up on a certain day, and the people who couldn't, we would catch them up so that next meeting, everybody would be on the same page. We learned that communication is key, and that in order for this project to work, we all had to collaborate.
Hello, my name is Jamile, and I'm going to be talking about a couple things that didn't go as expected and we had to wing it. One of our first challenges were the samples. They flew away when the drone was flying around. On April 1st, me and I continued working on the samples. We learned that we needed to add weight to it for it not to fly away from the map or fall. We opened up the samples and filled them with rocks. Later, we glued the top of the samples. Another challenge was time. We only met once a week, Fridays, for about an hour, maximum an hour and a half. We noticed that this was not enough time to be able to finish all the missions. Therefore, we scheduled some days in order to finish the missions we were missing. Most of these days were holidays or in the weekends where we had time to finish more stuff. Overall, this challenge helped us use our creativity and previous knowledge to find different possible solutions. Thank you for listening.
I think one of my biggest challenges throughout the competition was definitely the last day when we were going to do the filming. We ran into some trouble with the payload and getting the pictures of the landing sites because for some reason, right as we started recording, things just started going south for no reason. And since I was the drone flyer, I actually had to leave early that day because I had some family issues that I had to deal with, and that's why I had to leave early. So I was running on a time limit, and I was getting very frustrated because I couldn't get it right, and I couldn't understand why I wasn't getting it right when I've been getting it right the whole time whenever I was doing the practice. But basically the way we overcome it was that after I left, my teacher told me that it's fine, we'll just put my video there because I still wanted to be part of the video. And we just got another teammate of ours in the team, and we just made her do one that was like correct, so that way we could have an actual landing and complete the mission, so that it wasn't just incomplete.
Throughout this competition, we had many challenges. As the others have mentioned, we had problems such as perfecting the payload landing, choosing the right sample size, coding, and the samples flying away when we flew the drone. But the biggest challenge that we had was time. So in the beginning of the year, our school had several COVID restrictions that did not allow us to meet as a team. And when we finally were able to meet, we only had Fridays after school for about 45 minutes to an hour, which clearly was not enough time. So we fell a little bit behind and we got really worried, but we solved this problem by meeting after school or during our study halls or even during days which we did not have school. And different people would meet on different days since not all of us could make it to every meeting. So for example, during study hall, 3 of us would go to work on the map, and after school, another set of people would go to work on an experiment. So this is how we were able to get our missions done. And this taught us that even though things might not go as planned and it could be very challenging, if we put in our best effort and hard work, we'll be able to solve the problem. Another problem that we had was that a few days before we planned to record the video, our drone flyer realized that she might not be able to make it that day. And this was a really big problem because she was the only one that had trained to fly the drone, and we had to record the video that specific day because after that most of us would leave to go travel. So to solve the problem, I decided to learn how to fly the drone that day, even though it was only a few days until we were going to record, because it was our only choice, because without a drone flyer, we could not record the video. So that day I learned how to handle the controllers and how to land the drone in a specific spot. And it was very scary because I had never flown a drone before in my whole life. But the day afterwards, I came back to continue practicing and to learn how to drop the payload. And thankfully, the day that we were going to record, she was able to make it because we were excused from a few classes to be able to record the video. But she had to leave early that day, and even though she was able to drop the payload very well and she was able to record the video, she wanted me to keep on trying it to try to get the payload a little bit closer to the landing site. So afterwards, I took over the drone and I continued recording to try the drone landing. And this taught us that we should always have a plan B, and that although things might not go as planned, we have to be prepared to solve the problem and look for various alternatives.